Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the Grand Circle Tour podcast is about to air right this moment. Please remain seated and keep your seatbelt fastened at all times. Thank you.
The Disneyland Limited now leaving for a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. All passengers board.
Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door.
Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I am Sam, the American Eagle, and I am proud to introduce the Grand Circle Tour podcast, a celebration of Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. I really like these guys.
Hello, passengers, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Grand Circle Tour podcast. And this is already starting out right out of the gate. It's going to be one of those shows, ladies and gentlemen, because it's me and two of my favorite podcast hosts joining me tonight. We're going to start with Dan. Hey, Dan, what's up?
George, you know, every episode we say it's your favorite co-host, but this episode you really mean it, because we know who's your real favorites.
That is definitely going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Walt's up with you.
Walt's up with me. I feel like we should sing, what's the money song? Money, 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 money! Is that what's on everyone's mind this week? The Disney price increases? So, I was thinking about doing a annual pass, and I think we might talk a little bit about this in this episode. But I'm going to do a trip in probably September, I'm thinking now. And we're actually thinking of switching it. Ready? Everyone hold their breath a little bit. We may switch it to a Universal trip just to prove a point and not buy the season pass this year.
Oh.
I know, right?
Going a little bit to the dark side.
I know.
Slap Mickey right in the face.
I know. We're still going to stay in DVC, but, you know, we'll still stay in Disney. But
Well, that's actually funny because that's pretty much what this adventure is sort of kind of about. But also joining us this evening, who decided to take a last-minute trip to hop on the elevator, which he is completely and utterly out of the loop. He's definitely in the twilight zone of what's going on here. We have our Jungle Skipper, Jay. Hey, Jay.
First off, it's the world-famous Jungle Skipper Jay to you.
Okay, well, let me say, the world-famous Jungle Skipper Jay.
Bad producer, because I should know what's going on tonight, but I wasn't going to come in at all, and I'm here. I have no idea what we're doing, so tonight's a surprise. It'll be fun.
That's the best kind of surprise.
so passengers, before the show, we were like, Jay, do you want us to tell you the the topic? And he was like, no, let's just roll with it. So we'll see how this goes.
Do you have a waltz up, Jay?
I do have a waltz up, George, and I think you and I may have the same waltz up. I am now a travel agent with Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events, and I would love to plan your next Disney trip for you. So if you're looking to do anything from Adventures by Disney to Disneyland Paris to Disneyland to Disney World to Disney Cruise, I or George would be happy to help you plan that next trip.
Absolutely. And yes, that is definitely my waltz up for the week. I, too, am also a travel agent with Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events. And as Jay said, we'll be very gladly to help you out. And I usually know I say this at the end of the podcast, but speaking of Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel, the Grand Circle Tour podcast just wants to give them a big magical thank you for being part of the podcast and everything. So passengers, if you need any help or anything, just please visit them at pixiedusteddreams.com, where you could actually find, me and Jay and everyone else, and we'll be gladly to help you with your vacation needs, and let us show you the world.
George, we would love to help people plan their Disney trips. So you can hit either of us up. We are BFFs. There is no competition between us. We are co-producers and co-workers. We help each other out.
Absolutely. No bad blood.
I'm very happy for both of you guys. Both well-deserved.
Thank you.
And there are still tickets event for the Tower of Terror 25th anniversary party with Mark Silverman at Disney Hollywood Studios after hours at the Tower of Terror. Tickets are available, Pixie Dust and Dreams Travel and Events, or just hit me and George up and we can sit you in the right direction for your tickets to that party. I will be there. Mindy will be there. It's going to be an awesome night.
Yes. And if you check out either Jay or I's Facebook pages, we do actually have the link to that event. So you could just go on our Facebook pages. It's on there. Click the link, and it's as simple as 1, 2, 3 to get a ticket. So, as Dan was mentioning about trying to figure out like how to go about with his, Disney trip, and even so, as I said, kind of going to the dark side of going to Universal and everything. And I came up with this topic just because of exactly what happened, that Disney kind of gave us a little bit of a surprise last minute, where everyone in the Disney fan community was flabbergasted by that. They increased not only the annual passes, but they increased parking. They pretty much increased everything. I mean, am I correct on that? It was like every little thing that they increased. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to kind of discuss and explain to our passengers how we do Disney, whether we're on a budget or what is best of how we approach Disney when occurrences like this happen, because it's just going to keep going up and up as the parks grow and expand and get bigger and upgrade, more resorts, more dining. That, I mean, it's no surprise that they keep on increasing. But let me ask you first, before we get into the topic, do you think that was a significant increase? Do you think that was a little too much?
I mean, it was definitely significant. I don't think anyone can deny that. But was it too much? Hey, I always go back to it. We wanted Galaxy's Edge. We got Galaxy's Edge. We have to pay for Galaxy's Edge. That's just kind of the way it is.
And especially since they announced it right after they announced an annual pass preview for Galaxy's Edge for Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Opening.
Yep.
What do you think, Jay?
I totally saw this coming. We saw it happen with Disneyland earlier this year. We knew it was coming with Walt Disney World. It happened a little earlier than I expected it to. But at this point, we've seen the price go up every single year for how many years?
Yep.
It's going to go up again next year and the year after.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. As I said, it really wasn't a big surprise for me, but just the amount. I mean, they really banked their buck on this one. I mean, they're really relying on Galaxy's Edge for everything.
Now, do you guys think that is an attempt to keep the crowds down going forward?
I do. I actually think they're increasing it because it's almost like, as you said, Jay, with Disneyland, I wonder if they're trying to reduce annual pass holders.
Well, they've been trying to do that I left the company 16 years ago, and back then they were trying to figure out at Disneyland how to decrease the amount of annual pass holders. And since then, it's only grown to over 1 million. Yeah. I had my sister complain to me recently. She got an annual pass to take my nephew. She's been waiting her whole life to be a mom with a toddler who could just pop into Disneyland and give it to her kid anytime. And she said every time she goes now, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is always crowded. You can't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
That as a local, I understand it. It still hurts. I mean, they do want the international business. They don't want it to be just a local theme park, but unfortunately, that's what Disneyland is.
Yeah.
And as I said, I just think as the resorts and the parks keep expanding and upgrading, and it's just going to keep going. But when is it going to be where enough is enough? Like, when is it going to hit the point where, okay, this is too expensive for anyone in the regular household bracket to even consider on doing?
I mean, I really think it just depends. It depends on what your household makes, annually. And you know what, George? It already is enough for some people out there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's some people where enough was enough even before any of these price increases happen, right? Some people just can't afford it.
Yeah, that is true. It's the normal class family of 4 can't even go anymore, and if they do, it's literally almost where it became a once in a lifetime vacation, because it's almost like that's all they can do.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you guys that, because I live in a small town in Missouri where the average family of 4 has to save to go to Walt Disney World. When do you think is enough that people are going to go, we can no longer afford this, we're never going, and when are their attitudes going to change towards Disney? Because Disney's synonymous with being expensive. At what point is it going to be Mickey Mouse is only for the rich kids? Which is why you should get a travel agent from Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events.
Nice segue, definitely. I have to honestly, I agree with Dan. I think it's already starting that process that for a normal class family, I mean, you almost pretty much have to scrimp and save everything, whether it's a person's tax return or any little thing that you could just throw in a jar. That even just because if you're traveling alone, just the airfare alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, it's true.
Because I mean, I have to admit this, otherwise it would be. But I mean, it takes us quite a bit of time to save and put everything together for a vacation. But as I said, especially now that I'm an official travel agent, at least I know that's what I have on me. I know what I'm doing. I know how to book a vacation and everything and put everything together.
An official travel agent with Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events.
Yes.
It's going to turn into a 1-hour commercial, guys.
Yes.
I'm like Jack Benny. I'll make it part of the show.
Yes. But it definitely, I mean, as I said, at least I have the tools and the knowledge to put all those vacations together. And for my if people that are just kind of out of the loop,
right,
don't really know what they're doing, it's almost like they have to try to configure of, okay, well, how much do we need for this? How much do we need for that? But again, Jay and I are travel agents. We'll hook you up.
So, George, I mean, that's a good point, because if you think about it, I'm pretty sure that most of the listeners out there that are listening to this podcast, we're in a different level of Disney fandom than most are, right? Let's face it. And we, quote unquote, know what we're doing out there, and we know how to save, and we know how to, what's not worth it and what is worth it, and how to maximize our time at the parks. But we're probably a small percentage of the travelers that actually go to Disney World, and I do feel sorry for those that go in blindly and don't maximize their vacation, because it is a lot of money that someone, like you said, George, some of these is a once in a lifetime trip that they're going on. And if you don't maximize it, you're losing out on a lot.
Well, and how many guests go to Walt Disney World not knowing how much things have changed? When I was telling my neighbors about my new job with Pixie Dusted Dream Travel and Events, I was explaining to them Disney isn't like it used to be. You need to make your dining reservations in advance. You need to make your Fast Pass reservations in advance.
Yep.
You can't just roll up and do it like you used to.
Yep.
Like you were saying, we're the kind of fans that know. I mean, my last trip to Walt Disney World, I had 4 weeks to do it. And I was able to roll up and have a great time in 2 days because I know what I'm going into, what to expect, and what to do.
Right.
Yeah. So now that bears the question that I asked you guys, to give advice to someone that maybe not be too familiar, or they're just like brand new right out of the gate, that they actually want to spend the money and have a trip at Walt Disney World or Disneyland or even a Disney cruise. But I would say more geared towards the parks. How do you guys go about planning your trip? How do you do it? Do you go through DVC? Do you go through an annual pass? Do you just buy tickets, stay off property, stay on property? Like, what is your plan of attack, so to speak?
So I'll start, and it's funny because I think you're going to get 3 different answers from the 3 of us. But I'll start. I am a DVC member, so I do have the hotel part down for my trips. However, I'm gonna speak about before I was a DVC member, because I think that's most of the people out there that want to hear this question. I try to do a trip every 2 years. That was like my plan. That's what I felt like I could afford. And I would do moderates or value hotels, because in my opinion, it doesn't really matter how nice the hotel is. I think a place to sleep is really what, at that time, what I was looking for. Maybe now that I have a family and 2 rugrats running around, that I'd like a bigger room at times. But, so I felt like that was the way to save money, go for the cheaper hotels. But the number one thing is George, you said it, how do you plan it? It's all about planning, right? You cannot waste your day waiting in lines all day. You cannot waste your day without a game plan. And I know a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm on vacation. Why would I want to be so regimented and have a strict, order of things to do? But if you truly want to maximize your vacation, that's what you have to do, in order to get to everything that, is on your list.
Well, I just have to say, Dan, I'm sorry, you're wrong. That's I'm sorry, your answer had to be in the form of a question. Sorry, passengers, that's just me. I just had to throw in my little dig to Dan.
What is George having a power?
What is?
I'm sorry, passengers. There are times where I don't really get to record with Dan a whole lot. So when I do have the opportunity, I just like to throw my little jab.
Passengers, I wasn't going to be on tonight, and George is really upset. He did not have time to prep a surprise game.
Yeah, one of his dumb games. George, little do you know, we're playing a game right now.
Oh,
we're gonna rate the host at the end.
Oh, jeez.
Right now, I've got negative numbers.
I ran out of ink. I put so many negative zeros on there.
That's why I write in red pen. It's the teacher in me.
So what about you, Jay?
So I'm a big fan of not staying on property, and that's not going to change now that now that you and I are travel agents with Pixie Dust Dream Travel and Events. And I've said this many times on the show before. My last trip, I had 3 nights in town. The cheapest hotel on property was the All-Star Sports, which is a place I do not want to stay at. And those 3 nights were almost $700. I stayed at a good neighbor hotel and spent $150 for a private suite for 3 nights. So for the budget conscious, I'm a big fan of staying off property, because even though Magical Express is free and transportation on the Disney buses are for free, I save more money staying off property and taking Ubers. And the amount I spent in Ubers was nothing compared to what my total price package would have been staying at the All-Star Sports. Again, a hotel I don't want to stay at by myself.
Interesting. Well, and as far as with me, especially, I'm just the type of person that I like to, go all out. It's go big or go home, so to speak. So for me, I love staying on property. I love the perks. I love being close to the parks and the resorts, getting the free transportation. And then doing it as a... Yes, Jay?
Really quick, George. This is why you and I are excellent travel agents, because we are 2 different types of travel agents. We can offer 2 different types of experiences for anybody.
Yes. You have your strategic ways for people that do love that. And
I travel as an adult without kids. You travel as a family. So you can go to either one of us for these experiences. Sorry, Dad.
Hey, Jay, what was the name of that travel agency again? I don't think I caught it.
Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events.
But yes, that is definitely true. And not to kind of give ourselves a pat on the back, I'm kind of staring off of a detour here, but that's the beauty of having both Jay and I as your travel agents. Whatever kind of vacation that fits your budget, that fits your way of vacationing, Jay can take care of that on one end, and I could take care of your family with Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events.
We're your travel agents and your tour guides.
Yes. You get 2 for the price of 1. Okay, so anyway, I kind of went off on a detour there, so let me get back on track here. So when I was traveling as a bachelor and everything, you know, I could pretty much just come and go as I please. But now, you know, being married, having a child, and, you know, taking a family, that could be a little bit of a tall order, you know, when staying at Disney. So you have to think the price is going to increase. You know, you're not just going on vacation by yourself, so you have to take that into account. For food and, you know, especially staying, because we did stay off property one time when we went to Walt Disney World as a family, and it was I have to say, it was difficult. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. Just for our family, it just didn't work out. It works much better for us staying on property. And also with my wife and son being hypoglycemics, they have to eat a lot on a consistent basis. So for us, it works with the dining plan. It may not, I know there's a lot of back and forth controversy with the dining plan. Is it worth it? Is it not? For us, of how it fits with us, the dining plan works. So I guess pretty much I'm just wrapping this up as a Disney vacation package, staying in a resort hotel, dining, tickets, free transportation. That's what works for us. And if you are on a lower budget, I suggest definitely going for one of the value resorts. You know, particularly, I like between All-Star Movies and Pop Century. That would be my recommendation, but that would be my approach, you know, for someone that is wanting to experience it for the first time. Is if you're going to spend all that money anyway, experience the whole entire package that Disney has to offer.
And George, some good neighbor hotels offer extra magic hours and other perks.
Yes,
we would be happy to tell you about.
That is true. If for whatever reason, and especially with Disneyland. Now, I love Disney by all means. I'm not bashing them whatsoever, but just as a common fact, passengers, Disneyland resort hotels are much more expensive than Walt Disney World. So you can still be close to the magic, but still stay at a Disney Good Neighbor hotel. You know, yes, Jay.
This is becoming a thing tonight. I'm a former Disneyland resort manager and local. I can help you with your Disneyland experience because I'm a Disneyland expert. Sorry, Dan. Dan's rolling his eyes at us because we're having way too much fun today.
Yeah. But anyway, that would be my approach. I know I kind of bantered on a little bit, and that's just how I do. When I talk Disney, I keep on going. But I would definitely say, especially for a first-time traveler with a family or what have you to Disney, I would strongly suggest immersing yourself in that full experience with a Walt Disney World vacation package. So, did you guys have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That's usually, how I go through the package. I've never had an annual pass. I was planning on getting one because I thought that I can get 2 trips out of it, do 1 trip this year and then catch the tail end of the year next year. But you know what? I'm really rethinking it. Like I said in my waltz up earlier, I'm really rethinking doing a annual pass, and I may not even do any Disney parks this next trip.
Disney Springs.
Yeah, I'll stay on Disney property just because I have the DVC, and I'll get my Disney fix that way. But I may venture off to Universal. I mean, my oldest son is 7; he'll be 8 by probably the time we end up going, or at least close to 8. and he's into that kind of stuff. He's just starting to read the Harry Potter books, so it's kind of a little different thing. He sees the commercials. He always asks about it. He's never been. So if we do a little trip, we may just spend a couple of days at Universal, and then a couple of days in the resort, and just try to save money by not going to the parks.
And Dan, can I ask you a quick question about that? As
Sure.
the father of little ones, I see a benefit to this, but tell our listeners about what is the benefit of skipping a year of Disney and going to Universal with the kids this young.
So, listen, just IPs in general. A lot of the Universal stuff is what my 7-year-old son is into right now. Minions, Harry Potter, the superheroes, right? I know Disney owns the superheroes, but the rides are at Universal. And my son, lives and breathes superheroes right now. So he is dying to go on the Incredible Hulk roller coaster and the Spider-Man ride. That's just what he's into. I don't want to burn him out on Disney either. Does that sound funny? I don't know if that makes even sense to people, but I think that he's 7 and he's been to Disney 4 times already. That's kind of, it sounds like, I know people are probably rolling their eyes like, oh my goodness, that's like so often. I remember we were in the airport our last trip, and the stewardess was like, oh, it's your first time to Disney? And kind of just like looked at her like she was crazy. Like, no, I've been to Disney many times, So there's a little bit of that too, where I don't want him to take it for granted.
Now, this actually brings up the questionable point of this conversation is, now let me ask you this. On a competitive standpoint with business, if Disney wasn't as pricey right now as it would of what it was, would you still consider Universal?
My son wants to go very bad. So for that reason alone, I would consider it. But I'm a Disney guy at heart, I don't want to go to Universal. I want to go to Disney.
And that's where I'm wondering, is that where it's going to be the breaking point where Disney becomes their own enemy by kind of self-imploding by going a little bit too far?
It's true.
Did you have something, Jay?
Now, see, my nephew's too young to have this conversation with yet. Dan, what is the price difference that you see? What is the price advantage you see of skipping a year of Disney and going to Universal?
So to be honest with you, I have not been to Universal in a long time, so I don't even know what the price difference is. Do you guys even know off the top of your heads? I don't know.
I don't know if it's, and I don't want to be quoted, and as I said, because I was kind of looking, even before I have recently become a travel agent, I just jumped on the website, the regular Universal website, and to stay at, I think it was Cabana Bay, I think for 3 nights, 4 days, I think for a family of 3, I think it was, do not quote me, passengers either. I believe it was like $1,900 with the hotel stay and the tickets.
Okay. See, I look at it more like it's not really. I hate to. It's going to sound so terrible when I say this, but it's not really about the money. It's just about doing something a little different, right? And I only got that in my head because of the price increase. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It almost like makes you not question it or second guess it, but it's just like, if we really can't afford to go,
right?
We can't go broke. So what else could we possibly do?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And so that's where, yeah, Jay, did you
that's
find
the advantage? Well, that's the advantage of having Universal next door is you can rotate back and forth every year. Because I've had the Disney burnout. When I left the company, I took 2 years where I did not go to the parks, look at the parks, want anything to do with the parks. I had to recharge my Disney batteries. So I understand, especially if you're taking kids every year, you can break that experience up. You can still take the family vacation in Orlando, still do that big event. Still, like you're Dan, you're DVC, you can still stay on property, but go to a different set of theme parks, entirely different.
Yeah.
And that way your family doesn't get burnout every year. Tickets to Universal Studios are right now. They're $115. Tickets to Island of Adventure is $115. This is adult prices, and Volcano Bay is $80.
As I said, I do see your point. I think that's where, again, what the conversation goes. I think it's just where, when is enough enough?
Yeah, yeah.
So do you...
You know, George, just not to cut you off, but just, also, I really want to see Galaxy's Edge. I do, but I'm willing to wait it out too, because I'm afraid of the crowds, to be honest with you. So I'm willing to let it settle a little bit. And then also, by the way, there's all these other attractions that are going to be opening very shortly, probably in 2 trips from now. And I'll be able to do, quite frankly, a whole nother experience with all those different attractions. So that also is playing into my thought process of, do I really want to, brave the crowds of Galaxy's Edge right now, or maybe just take a little break, try Universal, and then in 2 years when I go, I'll do everything, all the new stuff when I go for the 50th.
Dan, I wonder how many people are thinking like you, where they're going to skip Walt Disney World this year because of Galaxy's Edge and the 50th around the corner and hit Universal instead.
I was thinking that too, but, do you think people are afraid to go for the 50th? Because I keep hearing that there's going to be all these people that are going to go to the 50th that haven't been to Disney in so long. I just don't know if that's true or not, to be honest. I don't know if that's Disney just throwing it in our faces.
I honestly think Disney right now is prepping and preparing for what possibly could be between Galaxy's Edge and the 50th anniversary. I think because Walt Disney World isn't going to have the hourly system that Disneyland had with the Galaxy's Edge. And I think that's pretty much why it was so smooth.
But we also haven't seen Galaxy's Edge open to the public all the way at Disneyland yet. We've only seen it under controlled visitations. So, once it's open for anybody and everybody anytime, let's see that beast once it's let out of the cage.
I actually...
World is going to open it. They're just opening right at the starting.
Well, there's some people in Disneyland right now that even though we all say that it's going smoothly, the Galaxy Edge opening, the people in Disneyland don't feel that way, because what happened to the rest of Disneyland? You guys see the crowds?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
there was no one there.
Splash Mountain was 5 minutes.
I know. So I've heard through the rumor mill that Disney's basically, what was it? You're allowed to have 4 people, right, on the reservation. I heard that Disney was calling people saying, "Oh, remember we put 4 people? Well, you know what? We're going to raise that up to 10 people." Mm-hmm. That's true, Jay? You heard that too?
Yeah, it was 10 people. And
so
we had Christian Milan on, who was telling us that even though the cantina, you have a 45-minute window, 2 drink maximum, it was so dead, him and his entire family were able to stay for almost 3 hours in Oga's Cantina.
Wow.
Now, another thing that I do want to point out is that if guests are willing to wait while Galaxy's Edge is going on, give it time for the crowds to die down, if they are going to attempt to go for the 50th or anything. Another great escape, but still having that quality Disney magic, is taking a Disney cruise. Because for me, with a Disney cruise, to me, that is a true relaxing vacation. And you're not missing out on any of the Disney magic. Yeah, Jay.
Okay, George, so let me come to you as a client for Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events. I'm someone who usually goes to Disney every year. What are the benefits for me going on the cruise? Skipping Disney and going on the cruise this year, how would you sell that to me? What is the benefit of taking a year off the parks and going on the cruise?
For me, and I have to really be honest, before even doing a Disney cruise, I did have my doubts. I really did. Because the parks were my life. That's all I knew Disney of. But I have to say, when you experience, especially your first Disney cruise, that it's almost like to the point where after as fun and as exciting, as thrilling as the Disney parks are with Walt Disney World, Disneyland, at the end of your trip, there are times where I guess I probably can say all of us have felt that you're almost exhausted, where you're fighting the crowds, you're in line, you're trying to get reservations for fast passes, for dining and all that. And it's almost like you have that little brief moment of, I need a vacation from this vacation. If you were to take a year off of the parks, you are not missing out on any of that Disney, high Disney quality experience. It's literally you're taking the magic of Disney and adding water to it. But the difference with this is, yeah, it doesn't have the rides, but Disney fills in those gaps with lots of onboard activities, ports of call, port adventures that you can go on, many different locations that you can go to to the Bahamas, to the Caribbean, to the Mexican Riviera, and then plus Disney's very own private island paradise of Castaway Cay in the Bahamas. And again, you don't have to have kids. You could be a single person, you could be a couple. Disney, even on the ship, they find their ways that cater to everyone's needs based on how you're traveling. And it is literally a different type of level of Disney vacation all in itself.
Okay, Dan, I'm really sorry. We're not trying to turn this into a commercial for Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events, which we are now travel agents at. I've been doing a lot of training this week, and I will one-up you, George, because I was looking at Aulani and Oahu in Hawaii, and you get the same level of Disney service. You get the same level of Disney product, Disney quality, but when I was watching these videos, I saw a secluded island. It was beautiful, beautiful beaches, beautiful water, and I was thinking, who needs the mainland? Let's just move there.
That is true. And as I said, I will be the first to admit that I was very hesitant about doing a Disney cruise. Not saying I didn't have faith in them, but it was I was just so used to doing the parks. But I tell you, after experiencing a Disney cruise, that is total relaxation on a Disney quality level. And they already have 4 ships, and there's 3 more coming on the way with new itineraries. Disney's going to open up a second island on Lighthouse Point, and new itineraries. But it's pretty much that if you do want to skip a year or two with the parks, and even as you said, Jay, with Aulani, that Disney can fill in those gaps.
Well, let me double up you there, because I've learned a lot about Adventures by Disney this week. If you still want the Disney experience, but you want to take a year off or 2 or 3 from Galaxy's Edge and the 50th of the Magic Kingdom, why not do an Adventures by Disney? And they have packages on 6 continents. There's so many adventures you can take the family on and still have a Disney vacation.
So it's especially with Adventures by Disney, you're having that grand quality level of Disney service, but it's almost like your own personal vacation, whether it's in a different, well, it's pretty much, in a different country. You could have it in China, you could have it in Australia.
George and I would be happy to book that for you. Sorry, Dan. I'm so sorry. We're hijacking this whole episode.
We are just so very excited about it.
We are so excited and ready to we would love to help you with your next Disney trip, be it Hawaii, Europe, Australia, Magic Kingdom, Disneyland.
So, I mean, now, Dan, I did hear, do you still have your trip on a Disney cruise in Alaska?
Yeah, as you were talking here, George, I was thinking about everything that everyone's saying, and I'm like, wow, it's true, because I did have an Aulani trip planned, and then Liam came along and ruined that trip for me and my wife, so we had to cancel that trip.
I'm going to send him that clip when he uses it against you forever.
But we had to cancel that, but that'll happen again. And then we just booked our first Disney cruise. So it's funny that we're having this conversation. And, I didn't even really think about it too much at the time, but I guess in a way, the reason I booked the Alani and the reason I booked the Disney cruise was kind of for the same reasons, not to like get burned out a little bit and kind of just try something different.
And I guarantee you, for a person who does Disney cruises very often,
Right.
more often, and I can almost guarantee you, once Connor does experience a Disney cruise,
Right.
I catch from my son, Josh would actually prefer to do a Disney cruise over the parks.
Wow.
Wow.
That's good.
Yes. He still loves going to the parks, but in order, he puts the Disney cruises first and foremost.
That's awesome.
So what I hear, George, is if someone wants to book a Disney cruise, go to you. The same way if they want to book a Disneyland trip, come to me. Dan, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to hijack this whole episode.
The real question is, when I book my next trip, which one of you do I use?
Well, which trip are you thinking of booking?
Flip a coin, dude. We got each other's back. It doesn't matter who you go through. Just go through Pixie Dust Dreams Travel and Events.
I think I feel a show topic coming on. You guys have to compete for my, to have me as a customer.
Is that going to be your next game?
Yeah, whoever wins, I'll book through.
After the episode, we got to plan a strategy against Dan for this.
And if I win, I book on my own.
Just rotate. Use George 1 year. Just use George on even years. Use me on odd years. Perfect. Done.
But I only go every other year, though.
Well, you better step that up and go every year.
You could even do a rotation. Do parks cruise. Jay will take care of the parks. I'll do the cruises.
All right.
We got your back, dude.
That's good.
We can hook you up with anything Disney. Adventures by Disney, Disney Cruise, Alani, anything Disney. We can help you out. Disneyland Paris, we will help you out with that.
So I think this is funny. I had it in one way, and then it just kind of segued into this information.
Well, this is not the episode that was planned tonight.
No, not at all, guys.
We're just having a good time tonight.
Definitely. But I think actually that's one of the best ways, especially when it's an all-guys show. Sorry, Mindy, I love you. I definitely do. Nothing against you. But with an all-guys show, I love when we have our little, it's almost like a little, we're in as Jay likes to say, a coffee shop. We're just sitting and
just hanging out.
Yeah. It's just the boys having a good time. It doesn't matter who gets ribbed. We're just having a good time.
Yep.
But
we're going to start recording the after parts and before parts.
And the before parts.
Yeah, because passengers, if you could really just hear us before and after, that's the truly entertaining part.
Yes.
So passengers, it's now 9:30 p.m. the time that we're recording, and we got together. I think George and I were on 7:30, George, or a little after 7:30.
7:30.
So most of the time was just us, chit chatting about stuff before we actually hit the record button.
We are on this longer than the actual recording, passengers, believe it.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, passengers, if you could see us, we really are friends. We jump on, and there are nights we're here for 4. I think the longest we were on was 5.5 hours because nobody could stop talking to each other.
Definitely.
That's how much we enjoy each other's company.
Yes. But in all retrospect, that's what I actually say to you all passengers is we're not saying to ever experience Walt Disney World and Disneyland. If you have the opportunity and you can save up the money, or if you just happen to have the money, we say go for it. Most definitely.
Well, like Dan said, you can take a year off of the theme parks. You can go to Universal 1 year. We cover that. We can get your trip there. But there are so many other Disney experiences. You can have a Disney trip every single year and not hit a theme park 2-3 years in a row.
Yeah. And there, you could even plan your vacation of Disney World or Disneyland and even not even go into a theme park. You could just resort hop, especially for Walt Disney World, because there's over 20 plus resort hotels. You could resort hop, visit the different themings of the hotels. You have different restaurants. You have Disney Springs. Yeah, Jay.
Well, I think we need another Dan's DVC 101 series to talk about. It's your DVC, and not going to the parks.
Funny you should bring that up, Jay. Jay doesn't really even know this, but we're going to record that show on July 7th for the that Wednesday after that. I think, George, you're on with me. That's going to be the topic.
Yes, I am. Awesome. So that's what we say to you passengers. You still can do the parks at some point in time, but just know that you never have to relinquish your love of Disney with so many other Disney experiences, with a Disney cruise, Alani, Adventures by Disney, or even if you want to kind of step out of the water and even do Universal for a year. You know, it's pretty much to your preference, but there are other alternatives if you are on a certain budget, or if you really can't make it. You know, there's other ways to experiencing the Disney magic. Do you guys have anything else to say before we pull in to the station?
You know, I fear asking this question, but what about a thought of not doing Disney at all and not even going to Orlando or a Disney cruise or California? And the reason I'm asking this, go ahead, George.
Just finish yours, because I actually have an answer for this.
So the reason I'm asking this question is that this year for my summer vacation, we're still theme park junkies. We want to go to theme parks. We're actually going to go to Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, and we're going to do a couple days in Hershey Park, and then we're going to do a couple days at one of the indoor water parks, Great Wolf Lodge, if anyone's familiar with that. And that's going to be our week vacation this year.
So you're coming into my neck of the woods.
I know. I'll be right by you, George.
So I would even say, just like how you mentioned about going to Universal, even if you substitute it with Hershey or Cedar Point or Six Flags or something, you could always go a year, go without a year, because that way it's a better way to accumulate more savings from money.
Sure.
Because that way, the more money you have, the more you can have a full Disney experience. But however, even if you don't decide to do that, that's the beauty with Adventures by Disney, is it's presented by Disney in a Disney fashion, but it's a completely immersive, different experience where you're learning the different culture and experiences that other countries have with your own personal tour guide, where they have different kinds of cooking classes, activities based on their culture. So you're getting a whole immersive, culturally, an experience that Disney provides without it actually being on a ship or in a theme park. And that's the beauty with Adventures by Disney. It's pretty much they hold your hand all the way through, as if you were to do an international vacation, but they help you along with it.
Good point.
Did you have anything else left to add, Jay?
As much fun as I've had tonight talking about our new roles as travel agents, in all seriousness, absence makes the heart grow fonder. If you find you're becoming a bit bored with the parks, there's nothing wrong with taking a year, 2, 3 years off, recharging your Disney batteries and coming back.
Definitely. And especially with so much coming from Disney, that if you really want to just hunker down and save and just experience it all at once and just have a big grand vacation, like with Tron coming and Guardians of the Galaxy and Ratatouille, and there's so much on the horizon with Disney that sometimes waiting will end up benefiting in the end.
And if you want to wait, we'll be here before and after to help you with your event or vacation or trip.
Most definitely. As you can see, I was waiting for you.
I promise passengers I'll be much better after tonight.
This is the only episode he's allowed to do this.
Yes. We had to get this all out of our system, passengers. This is our first episode after
we're excited, and we really do want to help you out.
They're very excited.
We want to help you.
Yes. So, passengers, we do want to thank you for joining us for this very interesting adventure. And we definitely want to thank, you know what, Jay, you had it the whole entire episode. Do you want to take it out with the Pixie Dusted Dreams travel?
George or I would be very happy to help you plan your next Disney vacation. We are travel agents with Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events. please check out pixiedustedDreams.com or hit George or I up individually. We would love to help you plan your next Disney trip.
Is that how you have to talk to your customers?
No,
Like
but
a
that's
rule?
just me. I have a certain Disney voice because I worked for Disney for so long. There is a certain voice you kind of adapt after a while.
Oh,
I
okay.
call it the Disney accent. And I can slip back into it at any time I want. I just choose not to use it.
But definitely, passengers, any questions, any concerns, anytime you want to book, just come to either Jay or I, and we'll be very happy to do so with Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events. And I want to thank you both for joining me on this ride. And remember, passengers, it's never a good day unless it's a Disney day. Take it away, Ken.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders. While on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tour. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tour Podcast, as well as Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to send us a message, you can email us at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.
Jettison Disneyland 1, Space Mountain Code 2, clear for takeoff.
Instrumentation.
Instrumentation, go.
Propulsion.
Go.
Facilities.
Go.
Electrical.
Go. All personnel, clear the launch platform.
Space Mountain. It could only happen at Disneyland.
Experience it now.